This video is going to review the concepts of definition and classification as outlined in Skills and Strategies 8 from the Making Connections 3 textbook. Academic textbooks have lots of technical terms. You might not know these words, but fortunately, the textbooks also usually have the definitions for the terms. Yay! Academic textbooks also have lots of complicated concepts that you need to understand. Fortunately, the writers usually use classification to organize general concepts and more specific ideas. Yay! Identifying and understanding texts with definitions and classifications will help improve your academic reading. So, get excited! Let's look at some examples from your textbook of definitions. We'll first look at examples and explanations of some definitions. The first example is phonetics is the study of speech sounds made in human language. So in this example, you can see that is, or the to be verb, is what introduces the definition of phonetics, and what follows is the definition. Here's another example. Matter is defined as anything that occupies space and weight. In this case, as is defined as. This verb phrase introduces the definition for matter. Another example, national fertility rates and mortality rates, i.e. the number of births and deaths in a country per year, are used to predict future population growth. In this case, this little symbol, i.e. I.e. means that is, so that's another definition marker. And here actually two technical terms are defined. Fertility rates, the number of births, and mortality rates, the number of deaths, both in a country per year. Also note that with I.e. the definition is enclosed in parentheses. Another example, research shows that there is a relationship between a healthy lifestyle and cognitive ability, the ability to think and reason. This example is a little bit different because it's really just a comma that shows us that there's a definition. But writers will often do this. They will take a technical term and explain it with a noun phrase that follows the term. And that noun phrase is always set off by a comma. All right, one more example. A hypothesis refers to an idea or explanation for something that is based on known facts but has not yet been proven. So here refers to, this phrase introduces the definition for hypothesis. This is a chart of definition markers. These are some common definition markers that will help you recognize definitions in a text. This list also appears in your textbook on page 147. Now let's talk a little bit about classifications. So if you look at the picture to the left, you will see it says taxonomic ranking system. Basically, this is how we classify all living things on Earth. This is a common example of classification in biology. All life is divided into groups. You can clearly see those by the different colors in the triangle. And each group is divided into even more groups. So we just kind of keep getting more and more specific with each of the groups. Let's take a look at some classification markers. These are some common classification markers that will help you recognize general terms and types in a text. And this chart also appears in your textbook on page 147. Okay. Let's do some practice. There is an example already done for you in Skill Practice 1 on page 148, so let's look at number 2 together. Primary school teachers often find that although their students have good decoding skills, i.e. they use their understanding of letter-sound relationships to correctly pronounce written words, this does not necessarily mean they understand the text. Okay. So the first thing that you want to do in Skill Practice 1 is It's easiest, I think, to find the definition marker. So we're going to locate the definition marker. Go ahead and pause your video for a moment if you need to and find the definition marker. Awesome, good job. Hopefully you notice that IE is the definition marker. So now we're going to look before the definition marker to find our technical term. So if you need to, pause the video, identify the technical term. Great job, yes. Decoding skills is the technical term. So now the third thing that we have to do for skill practice 1 is find the definition. So the definition will usually be what follows the definition marker. In this case, what is underlined in blue, they use their understanding of letter-sound relationships to correctly pronounce written words, is the definition. Okay. So now if you'd like, you can pause the video and complete the rest of skill practice 1. There is an answer key available for you to check your answers for the rest of the exercises. All right, so you may have already done skill practice 1, or maybe you just want to finish watching this video. Either way, let's take a look at skill practice 2. Where there's also already, number 1 is done for you as an example, so we're going to look at number 2 together. Linguists who study phonetics distinguish between 2 approaches to sound. One approach is to focus on the way speech sounds are produced by the speaker. This is known as articulatory phonetics. A second approach is to study the way in which speech creates waves of pressure that move through the air. This field of research is called acoustic phonetics. All right, so let's break this down. In this case, the paragraph is talking about sounds or speech sounds. So that's our general term. That's what we're going to break up into categories. To help us identify the categories, we want to try to find the classification markers. The classification marker here is distinguish. Was that the same classification marker that you found? Great. So now it says distinguish between 2 approaches. How do I know what those 2 approaches are? Can you figure it out? If you said that you're going to use the number 1 to find the first approach, you are correct. So 1 tells us that that's the first approach. So we know that that's going to be the first type. And if we keep reading, we learn that articulatory phonetics is the name of the first type. All right, so how do we know what the other type is? Because there were 2. That's right, second. The word second tells us that that is approach number 2 or type number 2. And if we keep reading, what is the second type called? If you said acoustic phonetics, that's correct. That is the second type. So now that I know the general term, and I know the 2 types for that general term, I can draw a diagram that shows the classification. So I'll start with my general term, speech sounds. And then I'll draw lines to connect the 2 types. And in this case, I really only do have 2 types. There are no other subcategories mentioned. So articulatory phonetics and acoustic phonetics are types of speech sounds. Did you also notice that there were 2 definition markers in this exercise? Here's one, is known as, and here's the other one, definition marker. If you noticed that, great. If not, that's okay too. Just pay attention next time. A lot of times when there are classification markers, there are also definition markers because we learn technical terms and then we usually use learn how they're broken down into categories. All right, so to sum up, here are some of the strategies that you can use to help you understand technical terms, definitions, and classification. Expect writers to use and define technical terms in a text, especially a textbook. Look for definition markers to identify technical terms and their meanings. If you see a technical term, highlight it and the definition to help you remember and understand the term. Also, look for classification markers to identify the general term and its types. If you see classifications in a textbook, Make notes or draw diagrams to show the general term and its types so that it's easy for you to remember those. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or post your questions to the discussion board.